Come on in. My name is Bill Tobin, and this is your restaurant success tip of the day.
Have you spent any time at your host stand lately? Well, if you haven't, maybe you should. If you're like many restaurants, you hire a lot of young hosts who maybe it's their first job experience. And they might be very wonderful, personable people, but just like any job, it can be very repetitive and can get very tiresome, especially if you're a busy restaurant or you're saying the same thing over and over and over to many different people. And so what happens is, especially if it's young people, I don't mean to bunch all young people together, but if it's young people who it's their first job experience and maybe they haven't been taught well, they can get into a routine to when people are walking up to the host stand, they don't even take the time to greet them. Instead, they're saying, how many? Or worse, if it's a party of one, they're saying, just one? Or they're being rude when a guest asks a question that they've heard for the fifth or sixth time today is, can we get a seat that's not in the sun? Can we get a seat that has a great view? And if it's a busy restaurant and they've heard this and they know there's no chance of giving this guest a special seat unless they made a reservation 2 or 3 days in advance, your host might actually roll their eyes at the guest. Not saying that's right. In fact, it's very wrong. But if you're not up at the host stand seeing how your hosts are treating your guests, then you might not see that some of these habits are being formed. It's very important that you teach your host staff to be greeters, that all of your guests are very important to you, and that their first priority, short of getting people's names and trying to get them into the restaurant, into seats, is that they need to greet your guests. At Tiki's, we like to say aloha to our guests and welcome them to the restaurant. Your hosts might say, good evening, welcome, or how are you today? Nice to see you again. Hi, how can we help you? Are you joining us for dinner tonight? There's 100 different options, but it's important that you're spending time up at your host stand, making sure that your hosts are representing your restaurant well and greeting the guests the way that you want your guests to be greeted. So your task for today, make sure your hosts are greeting all of your guests the way that you want your guests to be greeted. Now go make it happen.
Do you have a comment or a tip for restaurant leaders? Text me at 808-201-0550 or find me at restaurantleadership365.com. This is Bill Tobin. Thanks for coming in. See you tomorrow.